Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to Asable Forestry, and I want to talk to you again today about some more edibles that you may have in your backyard or you may want to get in your backyard as landscape plants. So I do want to cover first two species that I forgot to cover in my first video that mostly covered berries, and I feel kind of unpatriotic because these two species are incredibly important economic products for us, and they're the two largest native plant exports from Canada. And so the first one that I want to talk about is blueberries, and we all know about wild blueberries, and they're super delicious, and they taste a lot better than the ones that you buy from the store. They're a little bit smaller, but much more nutrient and antioxidant potent. And these grow in dry sands, and so along our lakeshore there's actually a lot of endemic populations, and if you have it on your property, I definitely would suggest making it perform a little bit better, and maybe even transplanting out some little root cuttings of it and trying to get a little bit more. I definitely think that you should go with the native variety because the cultivars can become invasive in our area, and this one here supports our local ecosystem. So if you don't eat them all, you're going to be feeding the birds and the bees and the butterflies, and you're going to get a lot more native-free garden decor. The second species that I wanted to cover in terms of the berries is, again, one of the largest exports from Canada, and it's this little guy here. It's just a tiny little plant in this pot, and this little plant here is called Vaccinium. Sorry, I just want to make sure you can see it. So that guy right there, he is called Vaccinium macrophylla, which means very large fruit. And so despite the fact that it's this tiny, tiny little plant, it makes a fruit that could be over 1 centimeter in size, and it's a cranberry. So it's a pretty cool plant. It doesn't really grow that well around here. There are some pockets of black spruce bogs, and this specimen here was given to me by a gentleman who's Aboriginal. So the next species I wanted to talk about are ones that you probably have in your backyard right now. And so these are kind of cool plants, and they mostly make teas and stuff like that, but they're really good for the seasonal effects of like flu and stuff like that. And I know that we're all out worrying about how much nutrients we're getting and whether or not we're getting enough vitamin C. And so it's a pretty cool thing that you have it probably right in your own backyard, the components to make a pretty high quality, high potent vitamin C tea. So the first one that I wanted to start with is this guy right here. And we probably all know him, and he's the white cedar. And white cedar is vitamin C rich and is an excellent hedge species, and a lot of people have it in their backyard. The other one that I wanted to show you also is this guy here, and this is a juniper, and it makes these juniper berries. And I think that we all know that there is juniper berries in gin, but our very own junipers also grow berries, and these are excellent to put into tea. Another species that we have is this one right here, which is a white pine, and white pine can also be used in evergreen tea, but additional to that, you can actually eat the nuts in the cone. And I don't know if you've ever had a pesto that included pine nuts, and those will be Mediterranean pine nuts, but this species here actually has a delicious high fat nut that you can get out of it, out of the cone, and you harvest that in the fall. The last one that I wanted to talk about is this guy right here, and this is a white spruce, and it's an old Scandinavian cold remedy, is that when these little buds flush out and you get these really tender little shoots that come out of it, you harvest those and you mix it with honey and you make it into a tea, and it's a phenomenal cold remedy. And so these are some plants that you have that are native in your own backyard that will feed our local ecosystems. These particular ones are really good for privacy as well. And you can do a lot with them. But another one that I wanted to show you is, it's not native, but it's probably in your backyard, and it's becoming a really big problem, and it's having a profound effect on our local ecosystems. And that's because it has this allelopathic effect, which means that it kills off other plants. So even though you may have seen trilliums growing there last year, there might not be some this year because there's a giant patch of garlic mustard. And this guy here is garlic mustard. And the best way to identify it, if you can't tell right off the hop, is just grab a little piece of it and crush it up. Does it smell garlicky? Does it smell mustardy? It's probably garlic mustard. And so this actually makes an amazing pesto, and you can eat it at this point in the season. And these are the basil rosettes, and this plant here is actually going to flower this year. And when it flowers is going to be when it really becomes invasive, because it'll just shoot out millions and millions of seeds, and it's going to outcompete all the other plants around it. And so one little note that I want to leave you with is that humans have never been able to make a plant or a species come back under control once it's become invasive. On the flip side of that, we have caused numerous species to go extinct because we overhunted them. So this particular problem is incredibly edible. It was brought to North America because people wanted to eat it. So if you overhunt this garlic mustard, you can save our local ecosystems. And if you have any questions on how to harvest it, just pull it out. It's really easy right now. The soil's damp. You can eat the top part of it. There's lots of recipes online. You can share your recipes on our Facebook page. But this is a really important one to be addressing right now. And everyone needs a lot of fresh greens in their lives. And it's doing really well because it grows quite well in the cool weather as it comes from the UK. And so I hope that you go out and you make something awesome with garlic mustard and you help get this invasive weed under control. And that you have a great day working in your garden. Bye-bye.